Hold on to your hats, folks, because the trade war is back and it's gotten a whole lot spicier. Donald Trump, the man who seems to think tariffs are collectible trading cards, has decided to play a game of high-stakes poker with the global economy. And guess what? Asia's holding a losing hand. This ain't your grandma's trade spat. We're talking about a full-blown tariff typhoon, ripping through global markets and leaving a trail of economic wreckage in its wake. Remember that whole globalization thing everyone was so excited about? Yeah, about that. So, buckle up, Buttercup, because we're about to dive headfirst into the eye of this economic storm and see just how much damage Trump's tariffs are inflicting on Asia. Spoiler alert, it's not pretty. Let's cut to the chase, shall we? The trade war between the United States and China has been escalating for quite some time now, and it seems like there's no end in sight. The latest move by the Trump administration has sent shockwaves through the global economy. Trump has slapped China with a whopping 104% tariff on a whole bunch of their goods. This isn't just a minor adjustment, it's a seismic shift in trade policy that affects a wide range of products. That's right, folks, 104%. Imagine the impact on businesses that rely on Chinese imports. This kind of tariff can cripple supply chains and force companies to rethink their entire business models. You know, that number that's usually reserved for the percentage of your brainpower you actually use? Well, now it's the percentage increase on the cost of goods that many Americans use daily. Yeah, that's now the price hike on everything from chopsticks to smartphones. Everyday items that we often take for granted are suddenly much more expensive, and it's hitting consumers hard. Trump claims it's all about protecting American jobs and punishing China for unfair trade practices. He argues that these tariffs will bring manufacturing back to the US and create more jobs for American workers. But let's be honest, it feels more like a toddler throwing a tantrum because he didn't get his way. The reality is far more complex, and the consequences of these tariffs are far-reaching, and who suffers the most? Consumers like you and me who are stuck with sky-high prices on everyday essentials. It's not just luxury items that are affected, it's the basic goods that we need to get through our daily lives. But wait, there's more. Trump also wants China to stop manipulating their currency, which, let's be real, is a bit like asking a cat to stop shedding hair. Currency manipulation is a tactic that China has used for years to keep their exports competitive. It's just what they do. And while the US administration is pushing for a level playing field, the reality is that these economic strategies are deeply ingrained and not easily changed. The trade war is a complex game of chess, with each move having significant repercussions not just for the two countries involved, but for the entire global economy. So, as we navigate these turbulent times, it's crucial to stay informed and understand the broader implications of these policies. Remember that feeling you get when you check your bank account after a weekend bender? That's pretty much the global market's reaction to Trump's tariff tantrum. Stocks are plummeting faster than a skydiver with a broken parachute. The US markets, which are supposed to be the poster child for economic stability, are in free fall. The Dow Jones is down, the S&P 500 is freaking out, and the Nasdaq is having a full-blown existential crisis. We're talking trillions of dollars in losses, folks. Trillions! And it's not just the US feeling the heat. Asian markets are getting scorched like ants under a magnifying glass. Japan's Nikkei is down, South Korea's KOSPI is in a bear market, and even the usually resilient Hong Kong Hang Seng Index is feeling the pinch. Section 4. Allies. Feel the heat. Tariffs hit close to home. You know things are bad when even your allies are starting to sweat. The ripple effects of these tariffs are being felt far and wide, and it's not just the big corporations that are feeling the pinch. Small businesses, local traders, and even consumers are starting to notice the impact. Prices are going up, supply chains are getting disrupted, and the uncertainty is making it hard for anyone to plan for the future. It's a tense time for everyone involved. Trump, in his infinite wisdom, has decided that slapping tariffs on friends and foes alike is a brilliant strategy. This move is supposed to protect American jobs and industries, but the reality is far more complex. By imposing these tariffs, the administration is not only straining relationships with key allies, but also risking retaliatory measures that could hurt American exporters. It's a high-stakes game of economic chess, and the consequences are still unfolding, because nothing says strong leadership like alienating your closest allies, right? These diplomatic tensions are more than just awkward photo ops and stern handshakes. They represent a fundamental shift in how the US is perceived on the global stage. Allies who once saw the US as a reliable partner are now questioning their alliances. This could have long-term implications for international cooperation on issues ranging from security to climate change. Despite ongoing trade talks, countries like South Korea and Japan are facing tariffs of up to 50%. These are not just numbers on a spreadsheet. They translate to real-world consequences. For South Korea, a major exporter of electronics and automobiles, these tariffs could mean significant losses in revenue and jobs. Japan, with its robust manufacturing sector, is also feeling the heat. The uncertainty is causing market fluctuations and affecting investor confidence. Even Italy's prime minister is jetting over to the US to try and reason with the tariff man himself. This is a clear indication of how serious the situation has become. When world leaders are making special trips to negotiate, you know the stakes are high. Italy, with its rich history of trade and commerce, is particularly vulnerable to these tariffs. The Prime Minister's visit is a desperate attempt to find common ground and mitigate the damage. Spoiler alert, it's not going to end well. The diplomatic efforts, while earnest, are unlikely to yield the desired results. The US administration is holding firm on its stance, and the affected countries are left scrambling to find alternative solutions. This could lead to a series of tit-for-tat measures that escalate the situation further. The frustration is palpable, and the sense of impending doom is hard to ignore. Trump tries to soften the blow by calling these highly tailored deals, but let's be real, it's like putting a band-aid on a bullet wound. These so-called deals are often temporary fixes that do little to address the underlying issues. They might provide short-term relief, but they don't offer a sustainable solution. The fundamental problems in the trade relationships remain, and these band-aid solutions are unlikely to hold up in the long run. It might stop the bleeding temporarily, but it's not going to fix the underlying problem. The real challenge lies in finding a balanced approach that protects domestic industries without alienating international partners. This requires nuanced diplomacy, strategic thinking, and a willingness to compromise. Unfortunately, the current approach seems to be more about making headlines than making meaningful progress. The world is watching, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Section 5. Vietnam and Taiwan caught in the crossfire. While everyone's feeling the heat from Trump's trade war, Vietnam and Taiwan are getting singed. These two nations, both heavily reliant on exports, find themselves in a precarious position. The trade war, initially aimed at China, has had ripple effects that have spread across the entire region, catching smaller economies in its wake. Vietnam, with its export-dependent economy, is staring down the barrel of a 46% tariff. This is a staggering figure for a country whose economic growth has been largely driven by its ability to export goods at competitive prices. The imposition of such a high tariff could severely hamper Vietnam's economic progress, making it difficult for Vietnamese products to compete in the global market. That's like trying to run a marathon with a refrigerator strapped to your back. The burden is immense and could slow down the country's economic momentum significantly. For businesses in Vietnam, this means higher costs, reduced competitiveness, and potentially a loss of jobs as companies struggle to stay afloat. Taiwan's not faring much better. The island nation, known for its advanced technology sector, is also feeling the pinch. The trade war has created an environment of uncertainty, making it difficult for Taiwanese companies to plan for the future. Trump's threatened their tech giant TSMC with a 100% tariff unless they build a plant in the US. TSMC, or Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, is a critical player in the global tech industry, producing chips that power everything from smartphones to cars. The threat of such a high tariff puts immense pressure on TSMC to comply with US demands, potentially disrupting their operations and increasing costs. Never mind that TSMC is already investing billions in the US. The company has announced plans to build a state-of-the-art semiconductor plant in Arizona, a move that is expected to create thousands of jobs and boost the local economy. However, the additional pressure from the US government adds a layer of complexity to an already challenging situation. Apparently for Trump, it's his way or the highway. The America First policy, while aimed at boosting the US economy, often overlooks the interconnected nature of the global economy. The aggressive stance taken by the Trump administration has led to strained relations with key trading partners and has created an atmosphere of uncertainty and tension. These tariffs are like throwing a wrench into the gears of these countries' economies, disrupting supply chains and threatening jobs. The interconnected nature of modern supply chains means that disruptions in one part of the world can have far-reaching consequences. Factories may face delays in receiving essential components, leading to production slowdowns and increased costs. It's a classic case of unintended consequences, which, let's be honest, seems to be the hallmark of the Trump administration. The trade war, while intended to protect American jobs and industries, has instead created a ripple effect of economic challenges for countries like Vietnam and Taiwan. As these nations navigate the turbulent waters of global trade, the long-term impacts of these policies remain to be seen.